Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Bhagya, and if you're new here, I'm a post intern who has currently given my NEET PG and waiting for results. So today's video is gonna be something about a routine and the power of routine, which I have realized a long time now, and I wanted to talk about it. I think most of us, like almost every one of us, have been having a routine for since the beginning, since the beginning of your life, and you even doesn't notice it or doesn't know it. So routine is something like gathering up of all your habits you have over a day, like starting from waking up for a specific time, then brushing your teeth, even brushing your teeth, taking your meals, and doing specific things at a specific way. Like we are made to learn that we have to wake up, we have to brush our teeth, we have to bath, and then we have to start doing all the other things. So that is one kind of a routine. So we already have a build up unconsciously a routine, which is like we have been doing it since a really long time. And I want to say from this video is that you can actually change it according to your needs, and you can actually make it useful for doing some things which takes a usually long time, like preparing for NEET PG or even for the NEET UG, which usually takes up almost like 6 to 8 months of your life. And usually preparing for such subjects or for such exams, it requires a lot of dedication, a lot of motivation, and a lot of patience. And you have to do the same monotonous thing every single day. And if you don't set up a specific routine which is both cheerful and which is both playful, and you can actually manage it, it would be really tough after a month or two to actually go with the monotonous work. So routines are something which helps you to get used to the monotony, and also get used to do things easily even though they might be tough. I hope I'm making sense. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna show you what my routine was during my NEET PG and how it has helped me to do it in an easier way, and also do multiple subjects at a single time. So usually I am a day reader or a morning person. Like I cannot read after 10 in the night. So my usual day used to start at around 6 to 6:30, not early than that. So 6 to 6:30 I used to wake up, and I used to have my own personal morning routine. After waking up, after freshing up, I used to go sit down and read a book or write my journal or plant my water my plants. It was a lot of my personal space, because over through the day I have to go through a lot of monotony, and I wanted to have some space for myself to sit down, think, and find out what is happening, like what I want to do. So the morning journaling is one habit which has helped me a lot while going through the process, because the process itself is a lot of anxiety triggering, and it has triggered me a lot of times. So sitting down in a place, either on your terrace or in a normal space, and just writing down the things which are in your mind, just let it flow, it actually helped me figure out what is required and what is triggering me, and I actually try to avoid it for the longest of time. And I can actually say that I have been less triggered these days, but not completely off. But yeah, I still have my triggers, but I have tried avoiding it, especially while doing my preparation. So I think having a specific morning routine is really important. It could be anything. For me, it was reading, journaling, and then watering my plants. But for you, it could be like going on a walk on your own in the morning sun, which can actually make you it's like a physical activity, and it can actually also help you give space to think and to do what you want to do for the rest of the day. Or you can just sit down and meditate, or you can listen to music or anything. But having a specific morning routine, at least an hour and a half before you start your day, is really important. And that's one kind of a habit which you have to develop over the time. Like this whole routine process, it doesn't just happen in one day. It doesn't just happen that you sit down, you make a routine, like you want to do so and so thing at this particular time, and you just start doing it the next day. It doesn't happen. So you have to slowly build up your habits, stacking them one by one, and that even eventually makes up to a routine. Like author says in the book Atomic Habits, where you can actually build new habits from stacking up through to the habits which you already have. For example, you wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, and have your coffee. You can actually back this up by making a habit of reading a book while having your coffee, so that whenever you wake up, brush your teeth, and whenever you make a coffee, you make it a habit of taking up a book and reading one page at a time. And that habit, because you are so used to doing the other two, you would slowly take up the habit of these two. And habit stacking actually helps you to stick on to that habit and onto that process until you get used to it, so subconsciously that you do it every single day. That has actually helped me. I used to I never used to read early in the mornings, but then I decided that whenever I wake up, I fresh up, I sit down. After freshing up and before taking up my studying routine, I used to give at least 30 minutes of my time to sit down and read a book. And that's how I developed my habit. So you can actually develop the habit by using this process. And so my morning used to be like 1.5 hours of me doing all the other things except studying. And then after freshing up, having my breakfast, I used to start my day at around like 8 or 8:30. And that's when my study routine starts. So it's like my day is divided into my morning self space, and then I have my study routine, and then at night it's just like the random fun thing which if I want to do. So for the morning part in my study routine, again it has a morning and an afternoon part. In the morning part, I used to do, if you have watched my videos, I have talked about it multiple times. I used to do the things like I used to do my Anki cards, and I also used to do the custom modules which are present in the online platforms like Maro and also in Prep Ladder. So what is this, that I used to like challenge my brain in the first thing in the morning before even going to the passive work. Like I am a person who reads through my notes, and and the percent of active recalling while reading through my notes is less, and it's a passive thing. So I used to challenge my brain first thing in the morning by doing my Anki cards and my custom modules, and that actually used to trigger my mind, like make it get active. So from the night sleep, my brain gets really active, and then I can just go on to do my passive work. So the first 2 hours of my day always used to be the doing Anki cards or the custom modules. And if you are a UG student, you can also do the question banks or question banks in the online platforms, or just do the active recall. Like think up about a topic, take out a paper, and just write down whatever you have, because the first 2 hours of active recall is actually helpful, and it makes your brain really active, that you it gets satisfied that you have did something that you have challenged your brain, and then the later parts of the passive work becomes more easier. And after doing for 2 hours, that comes to about like 10 o'clock, and from 10 to 12:30 or 1 o'clock, depends upon my hunger time. So from 10 to 12:30, I used to study one subject. So now I am talking about a phase where I have already completed my notes twice, and I was reading it for the third time. So since I'm reading it for the third time, I only stuck to my notes. I never used any other prepared material. I have stuck only to the handwritten notes which I have taken up while going through the live classes through my through the coaching center. So it's a short note. The notes is itself very concise, and since I have already done it twice, it was easier to revise faster from that notes. And every time I used to revise, I used to have another notebook with myself, so I can write down the points which I think are kind of tough to actually remember again. Like there are times when even though you have read it for thrice, like for 3 or 4 times, you still have 1 or 2 points which are overshadowed, and you find out in the fifth time. So those are the points which I always used to like write it down in a note. That's how I used to do from 10 to 1 o'clock. And then 1 to 3 o'clock was the break time for me. So 1 to 3 o'clock was the break time for me. As much as I like to study and do a lot of work, the break times were really important. I haven't realized it earlier in my preparation, and that led to a lot of burnout. The first burnout was when after the first INI which I have given in 2020, and that led to me not picking up my books for almost like 2 months, and it also made me have a lot of anxiety. And that's when I realized that typical breaks and specific amount of breaks is really important during your whole routine in your day. And I used to take a break from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, where I used to watch shows, and I used to watch a lot of Netflix shows. And I also used to read some books, or and have my lunch at the same time. So those 2 hours are when I used to cool down my brain a little bit, because it has been taking up a lot of information, both new and old, and it has to like get that rest, so that it can actually organize it in my brain. It can get time to organize it everything in specific folders, and I can like go back to it in specific time. So actually I treat my brain as a second person, as my second person. So whenever I do a specific thing, I think it of as a person, like doing it continue, like me doing something continuously, I actually get fatigued after some time, because it's a lot of work and I require a break. And that's a similar way how the brain works, right? So it also requires a break, and that's how I treat it. So the 1 to 3 is the break period, and then from 3 to almost like 6 o'clock, I used to, for the next 3 hours, I used to study again. So this period is actually different at specific times. Like for the most of the time, I used to do another subject or the continuation of the same subject and study, making points and questioning myself, and doing some Q bank if I have a really tough time with learning that topic. So I used to do that, or sometimes like once in a week, or once in 5 days, whenever I plan on doing a grand test, I used to use that time, like from 3 to 6 is when the time I used to do the grand test. Because why at that part of time? One is earlier the exam used to be at that part of time, and two is giving a grand test actually makes you gives you a lot of exhaustion. You feel like you have done a lot of work on this day, and once after giving your GT, at least for me, after giving my GT, it was really tough for me to get back, sit down and study, because my brain used to tell me that give me a break, I did like 300 questions now, I just need a break. And I couldn't actually concentrate more on that. So if I have done that GT in the morning, the whole day would have gone. So my plan was to give a GT in the afternoon. So the morning time of like 5 hours would be given for one subject, and I can do the GT. So in that way, like any short subject, in that way I can actually complete a subject on a GT day too. So that's how I used to mix up things. Like of course you cannot complete a long subject on a 5 hour schedule, but you can complete a short subject like radiology or dermatology or psychiatry on a 5 hour schedule. So that's how I used to like make up my schedule, so that I don't miss a day leaving a subject, and at the same time I can actually give my GT. So during this process, I think my most productive time was in the mornings, like from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, when I used to do a lot of subjects and a lot of topics. From 3 to 6 is something less, like I was active like up to 70%. I did used to complete most of the topics, because since I was most productive in the mornings, I used to, for like take a subject, I used to complete almost like 60% of the subject in the morning, and for the rest of the 40%, I think the 70% of energy was enough. And after 6 o'clock, I used to take a break again from 6 to 7, and then from 7 to 9 is the 2 hour time, which was the least productive, and I try my best to actually do something in that part of time, but I don't push my brain out of the limits. Like most of the time what I used to do is do another custom module of 100 questions from the same subject, or do some of the Anki cards. But Anki cards was a fail idea for me, because I could never do Anki cards at night time. Mostly I used to do the custom modules, or I used to do some of these random tests which were there in the online platforms, like 50 question tests or 20 question tests. I used to do those because 50 or 20 questions is a short one, and I can actually do them in a 1 hour time or a 1.5 hour time. And that's how I used to use my time, post 7 to 9 o'clock. And after 9 o'clock, I think it's after 8 o'clock, which is when I couldn't even study for even an hour or even for 30 minutes. And that's when I used to close my books and stop studying for the whole day. I have done almost like from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, which is like almost 10 hours, give or take, with breaks. Like it's 10 hours without breaks, and with breaks it's almost like 12 hours if you take it from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So That's how I used to plan my schedule. And as I said, it's important that you have a mix of everything. Like you have your mix of active recall, you have your mix of passive recall. You have to find out when is your most productive time. As I said, I'm a morning person, so my most productive time was in the morning. So that's when I used to read both active and passive, and I used to complete most of my subjects. But for some people, I think post 6 o'clock in the evening is when is their productive time. So if it is that way, then do your then make your schedule according to it. But if you ask me, I wouldn't say studying after 12 or 1 o'clock in the night is really a good idea. There are some studies which says that it might not be more good, but there are some studies which say that yeah, it is more productive. People are more productive at that part of time. But it completely depends upon the individual, whether they are a morning person or a night person. But one big suggestion is that never depend on your coffee. So this is what I have been telling everyone, like in my videos, in my Instagram, or anywhere, to anyone who has talked to me ever, that never depend on your coffee for your productivity, because coffee never increases your productivity. It just helps you stay awake. It just helps you stay awake, not helps you stay motivated or productive at that part of time. Staying awake and staying productive is two different things, and never mingle them. And coffee doesn't help you stay productive. It just makes you to sit straight and activate your brain. It just does that. But that part of brain is not helpful when you're studying. Not at most of the times. In the mornings, yeah, it could be, but at nights when you are completely sleep deprived and you're still depriving your brain of the sleep, taking up coffee is really a bad idea. So that's how I used to do my routine. And that's what I wanted to talk to you. Like, make up things using according to you, and balance them up at every part, so that you don't you get used to the monotony. Because I have did the same thing for almost like 6 months, and yeah, I am not a person who likes things doing it the same way every single time, but I eventually did. It's because of the routine. So it helps you stay motivated too, because motivation majorly comes from being disciplined, and routine is one thing which actually helps you stay disciplined. Like, because you have a routine to do, you follow that routine at that specific time, and that's the discipline which is needed to become more productive, more motivated, and stay down. And even after like 1 month or 2 months, trust me, when you when you feel that if you haven't done a specific thing, a specific activity after the other, you feel really guilty for not doing it, and eventually you end up doing that again. So that's how they work. That's how your brain works. So I think the one bigger part which helped me is that me considering my brain as a second person and not just as an organ. Because yeah, more than half of me is my brain, which is actually helping me to be what I am. So that's the power of routine. I mean, I am not, I didn't say it like do it specifically, do it this, do that, do that. I'm just sharing you my experience of how I did it, and so that you can actually relate to what are your kind and what are not your kind, and you can actually have an idea of what to do next. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, the background is really new because of the light and all the things, but I just hope the video turned out well. If you like the video, do like, share, and do subscribe to the channel. I mean, like almost 90% of the people who watch the videos have not subscribed, so do subscribe the channel. It really helps me do more things. And yeah, I'm really excited and waiting for my result of NEET PG, so I can like just start a new life. And also I can actually like make new vlogs, I guess, as a doctor. So see you again soon, guys. I'm thinking of actually making 2 videos a week, so if this goes today, the next video will be on Saturday. So see you back on Saturday, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye.